Okay guys, so in this video we are going to talk about some of the less known status codes that are still very useful for us developers to know about, but most of your users will never have seen these whatsoever. Well, most users have no idea what a status code is, but most users will at some point probably have seen a 404, for example. But these are very useful for us developers. So let's get into it. Now, 401. Be Basically what status code 401 means is that it's the unauthorized status code, which is something that you want to send to the client if the client is trying to access a restricted resource that they don't basically they haven't logged in. That's a very the most common scenario for this is basically when a user has tried to get into, say, a private page where they need to be logged in order to access that. And if they are not, if they don't have the correct credentials, or if they haven't logged in, then a 401 makes a lot of sense, right? So let's take a look at this one. This is also a very common one. So let's say that we have a user that tries to log in with the incorrect username and the incorrect password, or one of them. And this is a good one. Never ever, if your user tries to log into your system, never ever tell them if it was the username or the password that was the incorrect information, if they didn't give you the correct information, because that's just you telling what happens. It might be a good thing for your user, but it's also a great thing for a hacker, because if a hacker can know that, oh, I had the right username but I didn't have the right password, it makes their job a lot easier. Not saying that you have to follow that rule, just a good rule. I like it. I prefer it. Anywho, so 400 basically means bad request, which is very common if you're sending the incorrect information. Like you sent the right method and you send the correct info, and yeah, you did everything right except for the information that is contained in the information that in the request that you're sending. That's probably a good definition, I suppose. And then we can also, of course, if we send back 200 if everything was correct. So in this scenario, we send a post with the username foo and the password bar, and that is correct, and therefore we are going to get back a 200. And as you can see, as I mentioned a few times earlier, all of these tests are passing, so you can just trust that all this code is working. And then we have the 302, which is I this is basically what it means is that the resource that you're trying to access has been permanently changed, where it's been moved basically. So what happens is that you try to go to a endpoint, and for whatever reason the programmers have said, all right, we need to keep this endpoint or this path here, but we don't want to use it anymore. We want to redirect the client somewhere else, and that's when you get this 302 or 301 depending on the semantics of the request. So just a good rule of thumb here, if you should always, if you can, avoid using this redirect. If you can avoid doing something like this, that's the best thing for you, because the thing is that most programmers, I don't know why this is, but they seem like they believe that, there's no cost to doing a redirect because, hey, the request comes in and then you kind of just send them to the other resource. But what actually is happening is that you're making two requests. So the client is going to ask for the thing that it wants, and then the service sees that, oh, they're asking for something that we moved somewhere else, and then that response comes back to the client, and then the client knows that, oh, okay, it's not there, I need to go to the other resource. So what happens is that you're doing double work, and if you could skip doing that altogether, that would be the best thing for everybody. So let's look at the server here. So we are using the body parser in order to parse the incoming JSON. And here we see that, all right, so if we want to tell the client that they need to be logged in, we send a 401 or 403, kind of depends. You can read up on like the differences. Like one is unauthorized and the other one is forbidden. So forbidden would be a 403. So you could people are not living and dying by the semantics in these status codes, guys. So like treat all that I'm saying now as some religious type of rule or commandment, because it's not. But in my personal opinion, 401 is something you send when somebody tries to access something and they haven't logged in. 403 is when they are logged in but they are not allowed to do the thing that they're trying to do. So say that you are trying to update another user's profile. That would be a 403, at least in my opinion. And then we have our little post that we saw earlier here. So we're grabbing the body and we're simply doing some silly checking that the username is correct and the password is correct. And depending on which is which, we send back two different responses. Easy peasy. And then finally we have the redirect call here that redirects the user back to the root. And that's basically it. So these are some of the more like not unknown, but these are very useful status codes that you should know about if you're doing professional software development. I hope this was useful. Have a great day.